Excellent. Thank you for joining us today. Today is Tuesday, January 16th. This is the first meeting of the NBDA Bicycle Industry Retailer and Supplier Best Practices panel. We at the NBDA want the industry to unite to take immediate action to formulate best practices for both retailers and suppliers going forward. It's turbulent times. Excessive inventory, poor margins, reduced foot traffic, changing technology, human resource issues, change in consumer spending habits, and inflation have prompted us to be faced with extraordinary times. Our goal today is to bring proactive thoughts on solutions that could facilitate global level supplier and retailer positive financial health. Today, we'll cover 4 topics that have been brought to us from our panel members from the industry at large and retailers. As we move forward this year in our upcoming panel meetings, other topics could include supplier health, retailer health, D2C, human resources, ridership numbers, marketing cycling in general, and the changing consumer habits. We appreciate the panel members who have volunteered their time and expertise to today's discussion, and tremendous energy has gone into making this platform a resource for both retailers and suppliers so we can work united, propelling us towards continuous growth in sales, ridership, and industry health. We have more than 30 panel members who have joined us today. Thank you. If you're viewing as a participant, we welcome your participation, and you can do so by placing questions in the Q&A function. Throughout the event, the panel members and the NBDA will monitor the question and answer box, and some of those questions may be answered live, while others addressed via chat function back. Assisting in the moderation of today's event is NBDA Board Chair Peter Henry, and Peter will open us up with a few words for the good. Thanks, Peter.
Well, thank you, Heather, and thanks to all of you for being here. A fundamental truth in our industry is that retailers need good suppliers and suppliers need good retailers. We each have roles to play in bringing exciting, fun products to customers in a way that satisfies and delights the users. Even the greatest product can disappoint if the fit is off or some small misunderstanding by the customer creates frustration instead of joy. Since the 60s or 70s, until recently, it went without saying that the way to sell a high-quality product was through a bike shop or through bike shops. A business model was developed with high-dollar, low-margin bikes blended with better margin on accessories and parts and services that supported shops in providing free services such as free group rides, other community engagement that grew participation in the activity of cycling, as well as an appreciation for better products. Many of those services of basic fit, spotting misunderstandings could be provided by the retailers at no charge because they could make money off of the whole business model. In the wake of the COVID pandemic, that model is coming under extreme pressure. Some suppliers seem to be feeling they can get by without local servicing retailers, or worse, they feel they can supply local retailers while running a parallel channel around them. Markdowns on the older products, as new ones were introduced, was long a part of the model. It provided a 1-2 punch of having something new to sell along with something on sale. It was great for keeping customers flowing. But now there's just too much and too many pressures. Retailers feel that the markdowns by suppliers are devaluing their inventory, existing inventory, to an extent that the cost of these markdowns exceeds the benefit. And that in turn impairs suppliers' ability to move through their old products. My thanks to the suppliers who are here. Your presence indicates that you understand the importance of local servicing shops to support your own success. Yet to many retailers, it feels to retailers that many are trying to be part of the bike industry without understanding that without serving bike shops, there can be no large successful bike industry. All those little things bike shops do are essential to keeping the public engaged long term. You know, if the bikes don't work, people don't use them. For suppliers who do get it, which is those of you here, the need to be supporting local bike shops and competing with those who seem to us retailers like they're freeloading off of the services we provide. It feels to you as if those retailers expect you to solve all of their problems. Not the intent, but I understand how that could feel like that. Collectively, we need to better tell the story of specialty bike retailers as an integral and essential part of the total system. Possibly, we need to develop new business models and new ways to collaborate along the way. These are big projects, big problems, big goals. Solutions all start with communication and shared understanding. The very purpose of this forum. Thank you all for being here. And now back to you, Heather.
Thank you, Peter. I'm thrilled to see so many participants, so many people who made time to show up today. This is good work. We want healthy retailers. We want healthy suppliers. We want healthy ridership numbers. We're going to do the tough work today. We're going to have real conversations, sharing opinions, being authentic. When we show up in this way, that's when tremendous things happen. So thank you again. Let's dive in. We have 4 topics for exploration on the agenda today. And thank you so much for Francis from the NBDA for putting the agenda in our comment and chat function. How the forum will progress today is I will read the topic question, and then our panel members who have volunteered to speak on the items will talk. We'll then provide an opportunity to solicit any additional comments from panel members and also answer any questions submitted by attendees. There's lots of opportunity to get involved today, and I urge you to. So with that, let us begin with our first topic of exploration. This topic is on discounts and online pricing. The topic reads, when suppliers give discounts online, it impacts retailer margin. What solutions can be implemented to ensure that suppliers have the wins that they desire from discounting, and that retailers are ensured full margin if they match these discounts? How can we as an industry better align online pricing? And then can we move away from discounting and find better value? I really appreciate this topic. And our first speaker is Eric Peterson from GoCycle. Eric?
Thanks, Heather. Good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. The topic here is that it's in top of mind. It feels like every shop that I walk into, it's something that originally, you know, a couple of years ago, we were worried about other retailers that were discounting and cutting the legs out and cutting the margin out of your fellow shops. It was, you know, I can get this bike online from another dealer who's going to ship it to me 2,000 miles away. Another topic altogether. But again, it was how can we control that? One of the things that we've done, and Heather and I talked about it a little bit, and I know she had talked about it with Justina from Cosmic when she was on, was, you know, we've got a program. You know, we're not a primary brand. We're a small challenger premium folding electric bike. We're not going to be the #1 product in somebody's shop. So for us to be in a primary place in somebody's shop, it's just not going to happen. So we've got a model where basically all of our sales are transacted through our web store. So when we talk about controlling the retail, when it takes expenses out of the channel to the extent that there's one fewer transaction fee that we're paying Visa. Thank you very much. So there's 3% out of your channel. But also, it ensures that everybody that's purchasing one of our products is paying the same price because it's all coming through one web store. We then offer the margin to our showroom partner through the form of an ACH transfer within 30 days. So it's, again, you're getting your full margin, whatever that is, whatever that margin has been established at, and it's pretty common. Everybody's getting that full margin no matter what that price is. And when we're talking about $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 bikes, we're talking about real dollars into the retailer's bank accounts. And by controlling that margin, we don't worry about one retailer has it at X price, another retailer has it at Y price. It's really, we want a consistent experience, and we want those retailers, those showroom partners, to feel like the work that they put in is valued, because it is. We've talked about this. We need more healthy local bike dealers, and we can talk about this on the second topic with specifically to sales and servicing, and that you need local places for sales and servicing. You need local places for test rides. You know, a lot of these online bikes that we see, they're great first bikes. What happens when you need that second and third bike? But again, by us running the sales through our web store, and the other thing is the consumer is going to be omni-channel anyways. They're gonna test ride at your store. They're gonna go online and they're gonna research. They may do it on their phone when they're in your shop. And we want to be able to capture that experience that they had at that showroom partner, so that that showroom partner is compensated for the efforts. And that's a big piece to us. It's there's no inventory. You're not carrying the inventory. We're shipping out of our warehouse. We're shipping direct to the consumer. It takes shipping fees out of the retailer's pocket. It takes the transaction fees out of the retailer's pocket. It also allows us to offer financing that takes that expense out of the retailer's pocket. It's all of that, but then it's a consistent experience. So our mutual customers have the same experience no matter where they shop, whatever showroom partner they're at. With respect to discounting, I just don't think, it was, 54 weeks ago that the discounting really hit. I had a conversation with a buyer at a big store, at a big chain, and they said, 12/28/22, that was the day that discounting started, and it's been that way ever since. I would like to see us get away from that. Can we add more value? We've tried, whether that be bundling of accessories, whether that be service promotions, or what that looks like. We're trying to get away from that. It's price isn't the only lever we have, but unfortunately in this environment, it's the biggest lever. It's a hammer that we have. But again, our solution to the discounts and online pricing is that we run the transaction through our web store. Everybody pays through our web store. Transaction fees are eliminated, and basically we're clearing into the retailer's bank accounts every 30 days. Sweeping that in via ACH. So that's kind of what we've done. It's worked. We're starting version 2 now. I'm being cognizant 5 minutes, so there's my 5 minutes. I want to make sure we have time for discussion and other folks. So,
Eric, I really appreciate you sharing what you're doing at GoCycle, and it gives us a better glimpse into the why behind the way you have set up your practices. I'll turn it over now to Greg McDonald of Ridley Cycle, who will answer the question, I believe, from a retailer standpoint.
Super. Yeah, thank you. My name is Greg. Work for Ridley Cycle. I'm the general manager. We have 3 retail locations, and we have an online business also that makes up between 15 and 20% of our total sales. So part of our mission here at Ridley Cycle is to offer the best service possible to all of our customers, and whether that's an in-store experience or an online experience. It's really important to us that our suppliers offer a level playing field when it comes to online discounting. And I really want to focus on level the playing field. We can all be successful together, but we all need to be inclusive of everybody's needs. This discounting could be because of like a map window, inventory glut, seasonal promotion. But our challenges swell when suppliers don't transparently communicate map policies, discount percentages, dates, or the goal or purpose of the discounting strategies that they have. In cases where brands have decided to offer online direct-to-consumer discounts, our asks are to allow us an opportunity to match your promotion, enough notice to build and market the markdowns that you have coming down the pipe, and allow us an opportunity to capture lost margin through credits, a discount on repeat orders, a rebate on dollars, or potentially also buying into a future map promotion opportunity. I would love to see minimum advertised price map policies become a more strategic around managing your inventory at the dealer level or at your inventory level also. if you're not moving something in your sales channels, odds are high that we're not moving the same product in our channels either. Be flexible in managing your MAP policy, give everyone an opportunity to move through slow inventory, and offer your dealers an opportunity to recoup the margin on products that have been sold at a discount. In summary, my ask and suggestion to retailers in the industry would be to clearly communicate upcoming MAP windows and discounts being offered, level the playing field by including us in your discount plans, an opportunity to recapture margin lost through any of those 3-4 other ideas people have, repeat incentives, credits, rebates, what have you, and allow us an opportunity to collaborate and offer the discount through our channels also for maximum effectiveness on these sales promotions. I believe like if we bring together all the tools we have in the toolbox between dealers and direct to consumer channels, we can create maximum effectiveness for the target outcome without creating financial pain, strained relationships, or poor sales results. Thank you.
Excellent. Greg, thank you so much. I really enjoyed listening to your feedback there. I'd like to open this up to our panel members to give some feedback or additional thoughts of their own. And I see Rob Kaplan from Bulls Bikes would like to comment.
Thanks, Heather. So I think that the two previous speakers really recapped quite eloquently what the current situation is. I think the other layer that needs to be sort of the elephant in the room, if you will, is that the current pricing strategy or promotional environment that we're in is really being driven by some of the larger brands. And historically, those are the brands that do not offer specialty retail focused programs to allow retailers to compete on a level playing field. And we talk about partnership in this industry a lot, but I find, having worked for a couple of smaller brands in my career, that the partnership sometimes feels a little bit one way. And from a brand perspective, I would just share with the retailers that are listening that look to the brands that are really willing to help you and try to align to the extent possible with those brands. I understand that changing brands and moving away from the big four or whatever it's a challenging topic, and it's not something that maybe we can go into here. But this is a perfect example of dealer-focused brands versus we're going to go our own way whether you like it or not brands. And I think it's important to say that and to acknowledge it. But I do think that it's very important that there be a level playing field. The current environment, the promotional environment, is not going to abate anytime soon, in spite of our best hopes. And I think the next 6 to 12 months, there's going to be a lot of challenges for those dealers that see discounting online, but can't compete with that discounting online because of existing inventory valuation. So those are my comments, and I'll just shut up now. Thanks.
Rob, thank you. No, it's very challenging times when we have retailers who have a lot of inventory and now those margins are just simply eroding away. Any other panel members wish to comment on this topic? All right. Well, there's been some great thoughts. James Moore, I see you're, yep.
Yes, thanks. I've invested heavily into e-bikes over the last 24 months. I mean, really heavy for our particular market in Southeast Mississippi. And my brand put those e-bikes on sale, in some cases, very near my cost. So I was faced with two options. Go ahead and drop the prices to match the brand's website, knowing that most of the customers who came in to shop with me were not going to visit the brand's website. And I was just giving away margin right off the top for no purpose whatsoever. Or keep my prices where they needed to be to meet my cost of business and suffer a reputation hit from the customers who do check the MSRP. And in many cases, I took the hit on both. I took the financial hit by agreeing to match the manufacturer's low discount price, which they would not make me whole on when I did so. And I also took the reputation hit from the customer for appearing to be unethical by charging above what my manufacturer's website clearly said that bike should be sold for. I'm willing to share the pain in this situation. I'm just not willing to bear the pain in full in this situation. Thanks.
Thank you, James. And being someone who works very closely with you, I know it's like the after effect of the sale happening. I think if there was some communication up front to the retailer to let the retailer know this promotion is upcoming, you can have an opportunity to participate and then possibly even a credit or rebate, it would make it easier to tolerate and swallow. Patrick, I saw your hand up. Did you wish to comment?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on both Rob and James kind of together there. I think one of the things that really gets lost as we start to focus on what brands are giving us the margins and the dealer programs we'd like is our brand as a bike shop. I say our, I'm not a bike shop, but focusing on your brand, the customers are coming to you. They're not coming to, you know, the big S or the big T or the big G. They're coming to you. They're coming to your bike shop. You are the expert in their community. And if you bring in the product that you feel you can trust and you can get behind, the customers will follow. It's the very reason that those businesses were built in the beginning. They were very small and almost nothing when they started, but because they gained the favor and the trust of the bike shop owners, they grew to be very large. And unfortunately, like Rob mentioned, sometimes that relationship went from very collaborative to very one-sided. So I think it's really important to focus on the shop's brand and what you are offering from you and your staff and from to your community, rather than just saying we distribute these brands.
Thank you, Patrick. And Greg, I'll let you jump in here, please.
Yeah, I just want to jump in there super quick. In our experience, it hasn't. I don't think the big four brands have shared an unequal percentage of the challenges in this category that we've seen across like any other P&A category. I think if we're able to, you know, speak to like, you know, how MAP policies are managed or pricing adjustments or whatever, it's really just about like sharing that info ahead of time, giving us an opportunity to match it, participate if we choose to or choose not to. But I just wanted to just like be really quick. Like it's not, in our experience, it's not a higher than average percentage that the big four have caused discounting disruptions for us than anybody else.
Thank you, Greg. And we'll take one more comment here before moving to our next topic. Peter Henry, please.
Yeah, I also wanted to comment on the importance of your own brand. And a lot of us have been selling bikes from a single supplier, primary supplier, for so long that we think that that is our brand, and it can be really hard to change from that. But no, we're selling that brand because they support us in building our own brand. And many of us don't even, you know, we understand our own brand, but we don't understand it. We don't know how to articulate it. And sometimes you just have to have the courage to say, whoa, these guys are not my friend anymore. I need to make some changes. And if you really understand your brand and you can reframe that brand story in supporting different brands, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of brands out there who would love to walk on water for you to be getting the same support that you're showing to somebody that's no longer your friend.
Excellent.
But yeah, making that decision is tough.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone who lent your insight and expertise to this topic. There's lots here, and I appreciate everyone. Let's move on to our second topic of exploration today. This is on sales and servicing of direct-to-consumer bike sales and e-bikes. This is not a favorite topic of many retailers, but there are over 1,500,000 D2C e-bikes in the US already, and that number is growing by hundreds of thousands of units every year. They require maybe more or a different sort of service than the average traditional bike. And we need qualified bicycle retailers, mechanics to do that service. This is a big challenge for D2C brands, but it could be a huge opportunity for bike retailers who want to see some part of this business. What are some possible solutions here? Let's go with speaker number one, Michael Keating from Tempo. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Heather. I'm Michael Keating from Tempo. We're a brand new company that is endeavoring to make electric bike ownership easier. And we do this with an app for people who own electric bikes that we're hoping will help folks stay on top of their bike maintenance, get roadside assistance if they need it, if they've got a big cargo bike, access insurance through our partners Oyster, who I was here on the call, which is great, and generally make it possible for someone to, the way I do and my colleagues do, use our e-bikes kind of like second cars and to rely on them. We're also happy to have recreational e-bike riders or frankly any kind of bicycle rider as a customer, but our goal is really to make it easy for people to count on their e-bike. And as Heather mentioned, an e-bike it's in some cases faster and heavier and more complex. Some people like myself are putting a lot more miles on their e-bike than I put on my road bike. And the need for service with many e-bikes is more acute and more complex and more challenging than it is for a mechanical bike. And also, as I think many of us know from personal experience, e-bikes are bringing folks onto two wheels that maybe didn't come from mechanical bikes, where they learned, through experience to do a decent amount of their own service themselves, on their own bikes. And on an e-bike, you can do some of that, but some stuff you really do need a qualified technician to handle. That's one of the places where that becomes particularly challenging is that the majority of electric bicycles were not purchased at bike shops. And that's kind of for some folks, maybe it serves them right if they're having trouble finding a place to get their bike tuned up or get their brake pads replaced. But I think, as Heather mentioned, there may be for the right kind of bike shop or for that wants to work on a subset of those 1.5 million or so online bought e-bikes, there might be an opportunity. And our angle, my sort of point of view on this is that our customer is the e-bike owner, whether they bought it at a bike shop or they bought it online, and we want them to keep their bike running safely and reliably for as long as possible. So one thing I was hoping to get out of this panel was to both just let folks know that we exist. We're trying to help e-bike owners manage their bikes. We would love to send the right e-bikes, with the right issues to the right shop that's interested and willing to do that kind of work. And we're also trying to figure out if there's any way that we can help shops, which really are the only people out there that can handle this, the shops that are willing and interested in doing the work. Is there a way that we can help you help our customers? Can we make it easier for you in any way? And by whatever. And so I'm actually mainly here to listen if possible. I would love to hear from folks on the panel or folks in the audience who could help me better understand, maybe not all of those 1.5 million direct-to-consumer e-bikes are worth servicing, but we think a lot of them are, and we'd love to find the folks that are willing to do it or do some of that work and connect folks together. So I'll pause there. I'm happy to be an NBDA affiliate member and trying to see if there's a way to help folks with e-bikes, get the most out of them. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. It'd be great to hear from some retailers on some feedback on that. We have two other speakers on the panel who wish to touch on this topic. Vicky with Oyster, sorry. Would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you, Heather, for having me here. And it's really good to see a couple of familiar faces in the panel today. Mike at Tembo, good to see you. And yeah, with me today is also Nate, my colleague Nate, who's running our partnerships efforts here at Oyster. So yeah, we're very excited to be an NBDA partner, and really honored to be here to share about what we have learned from our bike partners in the past couple quarters. And I actually have a presentation prepared. And Heather, if you don't mind, let me start sharing my screen. Okay, yeah, it looks like the participant screen sharing has been disabled.
Oh, Vic, I'll get you added 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there you go.
All right, awesome. Great. Yeah, so just as a quick intro to explain why we're here, we are a venture-backed company that primarily is focusing on making insurance more accessible for your business and for your customers. So essentially provide a full suite of insurance products to help you grow a business, from business insurance for your store to providing bike insurance to your customers. So, and we now work with over 200 bike brands and dealers across the US. So yeah, very excited to share some lessons that we have learned previously. And yeah, so through talking to some of our most successful bike partners, and we learned that delivering an exceptional customer experience really differentiates one shop from another. Really just touching on the points of servicing, and really resonate with the point that Patrick, I believe from Satchel Line, was making around creating a strong brand for your customers. So this can go from initial customer inquiry to purchase experience to post-sale servicing. Customers really remember each touch point with on the customer experience for your store, and providing an exceptional experience really help cultivate a longer term customer relationships. And in our mind, that's what's kind of set brands apart from one another. But especially comes to electric bikes, and there's something in our opinion that's missing. It is a lot of customers are concerned about theft and damage due to the speed and liability for electric bike. And it's often what's missing out in the servicing and safety conversation today. So yeah, so we have conducted a survey with over 9,200 US shoppers in the bike shops in the US. And the stats that we gather is that 57% of the bike shoppers worry about theft, loss, and damage when considering a purchase. And about 45% of them are more likely to purchase insurance when it is offered, more likely to purchase a bike when insurance is offered at checkouts. So that really kind of baked into the servicing and customer experience conversation that I was talking to earlier. But you might have additional questions around how do I offer insurance and how does it work for my customers and so on.
Vic, can I just, I'm sorry, I want to make sure that you, this seems more like you're talking about Oyster and insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And this question was asking how bicycle retailers can take part in servicing D2C e-bikes. So I just want to make sure we're still on topic, please.
Got it, for sure. Yeah, let me just quickly jump onto the servicing parts. Yeah, I think for us, what we have learned, especially over time working with our most successful bike shops, is that when it comes to servicing, delivering an exceptional customer experience really matters. So when it comes to maintenance and repair, the post-sale servicing that you're offering after a bike has been sold really helps brand differentiates one shop from another. And one of the most successful bike brand that we have seen in San Francisco, for example, called the New Will, they essentially creates specialized packaging for every single bike sale that is being purchased for their stores. And they bake in insurance as part of the servicing that they're offering to their customers. So there's a way to cultivate longer term relationship with their customers and just provide a more holistic experience overall. So yeah, those are some of the anecdotal experience that we've learned from our customers when it comes to the servicing portion. And in our opinion, we just think that providing insurance on the bike and electric bike sales is a big part of that equation. So that's why we want to highlight kind of the advantage of combining maintenance, repair, and insurance in the post-selling function for bikes and dealerships.
I understand that. And thank you so much for pointing to the New Wheel. They're an exceptional retailer. And I'm understanding now that you're saying that the retailer has an opportunity to not just service these bikes one time, but provide a lasting relationship through offering things like insurance or extended service packages. So thank you so much for that. Eric Peterson with Go Cycle, would you like to comment next?
Yep, thanks. The model that we talked about in the first topic was, a hybrid type of model. We're a direct to consumer, we're through retail partners. It's a hybrid model. And what I'd really like to see shops do is challenge these brands to compensate them fairly for the service that's required. These are electric vehicles. Okay. These require more maintenance and different maintenance than your traditional bike. And as such, it needs to be treated more like that, whether it be the auto dealer model or whatever that looks like. One of the things that we're really trying to do is we utilize our app. We're developing a process whereby the retail shop and the service team at your stores will actually use the same fast fields program to perform the service that our technicians in our locations are using. It'll have backup data, whether that be pictures, diagrams, or what that looks like. It'll allow you to have all of the resources that our technicians in our locations have. It allows you to then perform the service via the app, record it, so that you then get you capture that data like the warranty information on a car. You know, we're talking about doing things where we encourage our riders to come in for a 2,000 mile service that you perform, that you charge them for. If that service is performed, we're going to extend the warranty for another 2,000 miles, up to 5 years and 10,000 miles in total. Again, like an automotive model. We want, it's the case where, and we've heard the stats before, Heather, you brought up the 1.5 million direct-to-consumer bikes. The third highest sales of any electric vehicle in the US is an e-bike brand, behind the Tesla Model Y and the Tesla Model 3. And so from that perspective, again, I want to challenge and I want to challenge brands to support the shops, because it can't just be a throwaway. It can't, the bike, these are vehicles with batteries and electronics in them, and we have to, there has to be some commitment to continued service from the brands through the shops.
Excellent. Thank you for your input there, Eric. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you?
No, go right ahead. I saw Greg and Rob had raised their hands, so.
It's a great topic. Rob, I'd love to hear your input on this.
Thanks, Heather. So this was a topic that we addressed in some detail at here's a shameless plug for the P2 seminar at CABDA West. And I think, you know, what I would say is that shops really need to embrace customers and lifetime value of the customer rather than the specific transaction. Having said that, they need to make sure that they're framing that transaction in a way that they're not losing money. So to me, the holy grail is treat every consumer like they're your consumer, treat every bike like they're a bike that you sold. But in terms of how you service bikes, especially direct consumer e-bikes, make sure you put guardrails around the time that you spend so that you're not, you know, it's not the black hole of time, so to speak. But for those retailers that have done that, the results have been by and large very positive, and it absolutely is a method by which you can endear yourself to the community and create more customers and therefore lifetime customer value. Thank you.
I like that. Guardrails and policy. Thank you, Rob, for that. Greg McDonald with Ridley's.
Yeah, thanks. No, I really like what you said, Rob, too. And it's really important for us as a dealer that we look like outside of our four walls, or how many walls we have, and really try and invite any cycling customer, no matter where they purchase their bike, into our stores. We can take care of it for you. We can build it for you. We can do XYZ thing. And really what I think maybe there's an opportunity for is in all these direct to consumer brands where their customers need service is, you know, we would love to see, you know, what are the service, you know, packages that we need to have ready for them? What's the support that we can get from you? What are the expectations of products that we need to stock, or what does that look like? I think there's a fantastic opportunity for everybody to have dedicated service centers for your product, no matter how you got it to a customer. And we would love to be included in that as it grows and develops over time.
Thank you, Greg. And we did have a couple of questions who came in from attendees today. One of them asking about mitigating the liability risks of working on e-bikes. Scott, yeah, thank you. And you're muted, just.
Yeah, I presume I'm the person to talk about this. So it's kind of over the past 6-7 years, we've noticed more and more bike shops getting dragged into claims due to servicing a direct-to-consumer brand that maybe doesn't have U.S. domiciled product liability. Hence, unfortunately, in our litigious society, sometimes the last in the stream of commerce, albeit the shop gets dragged into a suit. So I think what the best solution is obviously trying to figure out what brands have gone through proper testing protocol, have proper insurance coverage, and whether or not those shops have had any training on how to do the repairs. So it's like you have a brand of a bike that comes through your shop and it's the first time you've ever seen it and you've had no training, something were to cause a bodily injury or a property damage claim, even like a fire, I think the plaintiff's attorney is going to be drooling. Just the fact that you worked on that. So there's no simple solution, although the opt-in program that NBDA has that's been trying to solicit information about these e-bike brands is helpful. But I've seen shops get dragged into the mud for something that as simple as a tire change just because they touched the bike glass. So that's where there's definitely multiple buckets of opinions on how to do this. If you're a retailer, some shops, they don't care, they'll work on anything, take the revenue, not going to worry about it. The other extreme is if it's a brand that they don't sell, they're not going to work on it, and it's for liability reasons. I think there's a happy medium in between, and that's by just using data, getting information. It's like brand X has been tested, brand X has product liability in the States, it's a quality brand, we'll work on that, we'll take that service revenue. But I could probably talk for 2 hours, but I'll just leave it at that. It's a really, really hot topic right now in my world. So
Thank you, Scott. And I know you're always available to retailers as well, and I appreciate your constant involvement with the NBDA activities. James Moore, I see your hand up.
2 quick points. I'm happy to work on any e-bike that comes into my store, provided that the manufacturer has a phone number and someone will actually answer the phone when we call. I refuse to have my manager or mechanics go down an email rabbit hole trying to resolve problems. Secondly, from the liability standpoint, this is not just e-bikes, but any direct-to-consumer bike. We refuse to provide any services to unless we provide an assembly safety check for which we charge on that initial visit to the shop. And this is a charge that is in addition to fixing the flat or adjusting the things that we can visibly see. It is a start to finish as if we had put the bike together coming out of the box. Torquing pedals, being sure that stem is tight, any other thing that the consumer probably got wrong or did not know to check. And I would encourage the direct-to-consumer distributors here, if you're compensating a dealer for some warranty work, consider compensating him for that safety check. We're not just doing that for our own best interest, we're doing that for your customers' best interest as well. Thanks.
Thank you, James.
By the way, that typically runs $25 to $35 for that overall comprehensive check, in addition to the items that we have listed a la carte on the ticket.
Thank you, James. It's a great forum for ideas to circulate so we can all hear what each of us is facing. Any other comments from our panel members? I know several retailers in our P2 groups actually have their policy and procedures for what bikes they will work on, battery safety measures they're taking, and they have those posted on their website. So that lets customers know what their policies are with servicing e-bikes and answers a lot of those questions beforehand. Okay, let's move on then to.
Can I just one quick question, maybe then table it for later, but would there be a role for the NBDA to have as a resource answers to some of the questions that Scott raised a second ago? Is this, does this brand have, U.S. domiciled insurance? Do they have a phone number? What's you're not going to know everything, but maybe there's the 5 key things that would allow, some retailer members of the association to just, somebody rolls in with a brand, they could take a quick look and say, is this something I'm willing to touch, or is this something that I I don't want to have anything to do with. And that I wonder if that's maybe NBDA is not the right organization for that, but it seems like there's a lot of uncertainty, and if the information could be gathered, from the brands, that would elevate the brands that are doing, the right thing to the degree that they can, but also might be useful to retailers.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, for that. We did start a database about a year ago that is opt-in for brands who then can give us that information. Francis will go ahead and throw that in the chat here so everyone can have access. It's on the NBDA webpage under NBDA Connects and then e-bike resources. You'll find that in there. Excellent. All right, let's move on to today's third topic, staying on D2C sales, but this one touching on assembly, setup, and shipping. So we know bikes sold online require some assembly and setup, and we don't feel like the industry is aligned with those assembly or shipping fees. I see some retailers are charging for assembly and shipping in store. Some brands are charging for assembly and shipping on their websites, but we're not really all aligned. So are there any general thoughts on how we could best inform riders that there's costs associated with D2C sales with the shipping and assembly? And are any retailers charging for these? And would you like to provide any feedback? It's a great topic. So we have Greg Britton from Wheel Sport Bikes who will talk first on this. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Heather. So a lot of talk about brand, and when I think about our brand and what we bring to the table, we don't manufacture any products that we sell. We don't design any products that we sell. Our whole value proposition is in the service. We provide the consultation, the test ride, and we build the bike. That's really what a retail business does these days. So it's kind of always been that way. I've been in this 44 years. So if we look at that, and then I have these conversations with stores all the time, like I'm sure all of you do, is do you ever discount your labor? And everybody kind of looks like that's absurd. And I'm glad that's absurd, because that's all we have. We don't set the pricing on the product, MSRP. You can venture beyond that if you dare and see what happens. But the only thing we're really in control of is the service piece of the business. So nobody wants to discount the labor. It doesn't make sense, which I agree. But yet, 99% of shops do. In fact, Wheel Sport discounted labor, I calculated, at 39% last year, because we gave away $120,000 worth of bike builds. So it's crazy to think that this industry still is giving away our most valuable asset. And the most obvious of those is bike building. Now, it can be direct to consumer. I'm talking about across the board. The bikes on my floor, the bikes I get from Specialized when somebody buys direct from them. I take a margin hit there, so I guess you could say it's more absurd that we would build those for free, but really it doesn't matter. It's an incredible service that we've given away, and then expect everybody to understand how valuable it is. How valuable can that service be to the public or our brand partners if it's free? So one thing I thought was, if you look at the direct to consumer or the options for a consumer to buy, customer, I'll use Specialized. I'm a Specialized dealer as an example. If I take three scenarios and say a customer can buy a bike from Specialized directly and have it sent to their home, they'll pay the same price they buy it from me, and they'll pay shipping to send it to their house. And the bike comes in a box, unassembled. Or they can buy it from Specialized, pay MSRP, pay shipping, and have it sent to me and have it built for free. Or they can buy it from me where I've paid the shipping, although Wheel Sport has been passing on shipping charges for a couple of years now. But I pay the shipping and I build it for free. So they get a built bike with consultation, with a test ride, and it's the cheapest option of all. It's really absurd when you look at it from that view. One thing I was looking at too on Saturday, I said, well, what is the biggest bike seller in the country charge to assemble a bike? Which is Walmart. I think I'm correct that Walmart sells more bikes than any other retailer. They charge $59 for a kid's bike, $79 for an adult bike, and $135. This is as of Saturday on their website, $135 to assemble an e-bike. Walmart. Now, I think they contracted out. It may be a professional, but surely if Walmart can charge for bike assembly, this industry can get together and figure this piece out. That's all I have.
Thank you, Greg.
Is anybody charging for bike builds on their own bike? I don't know
I will
of any shop
say,
that does it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I will say that I speak to a lot of retailers who are doing that, and they rarely get pushback. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, we've got no pushback on the shipping. We've not lost one sale in a conversation. Now, we might have lost some up front, but we've been charging $50 per bike on every single bike for about 2.5 years and have no pushback on that. And the shipping isn't even a fee. It's not a service we provide. It's just a reimbursement. It's a cost of goods. So that's, the service we provide that really needs to have the charge. And it has to be separate. I know brands have always argued it's built into the margin, which was always BS. And now that margins dropped significantly over the years, it surely isn't. But even if it was, it needs to be separated out to have value.
Excellent. And James Moore, is your hand up for this one? I see your hand. No. Okay. Any other panel members have comments or feedback on how we could navigate this? We have some attendees who, Greg, when you asked the question, are you charging, did say yes and indeed raise their hand. Sunset Cyclery says we charge for builds on e-bikes that we sell, $150, but we don't charge for non-e-bikes that we sell, but they think they should. And Dennis has a suggestion. He's an attendee with a suggestion, but I don't know what his suggestion is yet. He didn't tell me. I mean, it's a great conversation piece. Benton Hunt from QBP.
Thanks,
Thank
Heather.
you.
I'll just chime in. I don't have QBP doesn't have a stance on exactly delivery charges or build fees, of course. But I have the opportunity in my role to travel and see a lot of independent retailers over the last decade plus. And what I would say is that we have the ability to be more confident in what we offer as an industry to the end consumer. If you think about what you do as a consumer outside of the bike industry, everything has a delivery charge. I bought tickets this last weekend to freeze at the Kansas City game because they were cheap for Ticketmaster. And a $30 ticket cost me $20 service fee, and they did nothing. It was all digital. The service fee or the build fees alongside of those things just come with the confidence of you. This is the value that we add. And I think, Greg, you hit the nail on the head. If we've been charging this, knowing Wheel Sports retail business, I think your customers recognize the value that you add to it. So I think there's an opportunity there to be confident in that a bit and at least try it. And the retailers that I've worked with that have tried it, either a build fee or a service fee, they add it in, they're transparent up front. They don't necessarily call it a fee. There are ways to put that into the overall price, and they've had some success. There are certainly some that haven't, but it comes with a level of confidence to be confident in the value of your shop first and foremost, as do most things. And I think it's possible.
Yeah, we've added the shipping as part of the price because it's a reimbursement. But I really believe the build has to be separate to have value. You shouldn't bake it in. That's where it's lived forever, and it needs to be its own deal to have the value, especially on the direct to consumer. That one more people might understand, but it's really no different. The service is the same. It's still labor in the shop. But I appreciate those comments. Thank you.
Eric Peterson from Go Cycle, I see your hand up.
I think it really goes to what what I'd said earlier is viewing the e-bikes especially as electric vehicles, and in the vehicle world, you know, we're used to paying destination charges. You know, we're used to seeing what that actual destination charge. And to talk to Benton's piece, it's like I bought tickets to a movie online, and it was a $7 fee just to buy movie tickets, so that I for the right to not have to talk to somebody. And you know, it's I think about but it is truly, I think that the consumer is becoming more prepared for that. And I think it's really just, Greg, to your point, is just to valuing the value that you actually add, and not discounting that piece, and really, you know, respecting the job that you're doing for that consumer when they get that vehicle in.
Excellent. Thank you, Eric. Chad Picard, NBDA board member.
Yeah, I had a couple points. You know, certainly as a retailer, you have to build the value in what you sell. And I think oftentimes we're too close to our own product. We know how to assemble a bike. We know how to navigate, how to fix a flat. And so we tend to assume that our customer does not. We quite possibly have customers that don't need us. I guess they're not customers, they're just cyclists. They know how to navigate all that stuff. That's not necessarily the customers we need to chase. We need to go after the ones that are willing to pay for our services. What I would love to see, and it's been a while since I've looked at a dealer agreement, but I believe the requirement by most vendors is that we have to assemble bikes, and it would be great to see voicing from the vendors that if we have to assemble bikes, it'd be great to see language that says there will be additional charges or there will be professional fees for that. And then Eric, you made a point that I thought I wanted to add to, but I forgot my note on that. But yeah, it'd be great to see vendors position retailers as the professional assemblers of their products and reinforce that with marketing, social media, et cetera.
That's excellent. Thank you, Chad. And I see a couple attendee hands up. If you'd like to say something, Don, I see your hand up. I think you have a shop close by. You're able to talk if you'd like to.
Okay, am I on mute? Okay. I'd just like to say we've been charging for assembly since 2020 with no pushback. We list it on our website catalog. We also list it on every bike tag. But what I'd like to see is our vendors actually, you know, listing that the, you know, assembly fees may be charged and shipping on their websites, and perhaps even smart e-tailing, making it easier to include that assembly charge into the product catalog.
Excellent. Thank you, Don. I'm really glad to have you here and have your comments on that. Dennis, I see you're an attendee with your hand up as well. Would you like to go ahead and comment?
Hello, do you hear me?
Yep.
Do you see me? You don't, right?
No, but we can hear you.
Okay. It's not the point to see me, but so I took this idea from one of the New York City bike shops where I used to work. So they don't charge for service for life, but I made it not for life. I made it for a year. So I charge $200 assembly fee. That includes 1 year of free maintenance. Means that you get a flat, you need to change brake pads, need some service, it's all free. Might seem a lot of loss. However, I see that customers are not really picky. They just come and tell me, oh, I got a flat. I need to change my brake pads. Nobody ever comes with a complicated repair, except maybe like times guys ask me to do a full tune-up on the bike. And on the other hand, first of all, I can explain why is it $200, because service fee is included for a year. Secondly, people coming into the bike shop without worrying that the bike shop will rip them off And that makes that makes people feel more attractive. They tell it to their friends, and we have a lot of people come with recommendations for service.
Thank you, Dennis. It's nice to hear what different retailers are doing. We do have a question from a retailer too, and I think this aligns with the purpose of this panel and forum, is to get some collective suggestions together so we can be more proactive as a group and as the industry united. The question is from Fraser Bicycle. If, let's say, Wheelsport is adding a build fee and freight fee, are there other retailers around you who are not, and do you get any pushback? Greg, do you have any feedback from what you're experiencing? Are consumers shopping on the build fee? Is it a negative thing that you get pushback from?
Well, we don't have a build fee yet. We do have the shipping fee, and we haven't had any pushback. We have found, I think we were the first in the area to do it, but I know there's multiple shops now that are embracing it. But I think the biggest challenge, there was a few comments there that definitely play, Specialized says we have to build it. So we need to get around that, especially on the direct to consumer or the integrated marketplace, they call it, bikes that get sent to us that they sell. So, and it does have to be a collective effort. The word independent, an independent bike retailer is personally is one of my biggest problems, because I am very independent and I kind of go up these things all on my own, but I appreciate this forum as the collective group, because that's what it's going to take to get the vendors to change. And I think Peter, as he introduced this whole thing, he made a comment, basically, don't be afraid to part ways with vendors or tell them, they're not technically your friends or, whatever, you have a business to run. And we have to be able to go back to people as big as Specialized and say, this doesn't work. And, if this is the way you're going to do it, we can't be a part of it. That's our biggest challenge for this whole thing. And I applaud the shops that are charging it. And I think we could implement it in store pretty easy, but the bikes that get sold through Specialized and sent to us, that's going to be a challenge. That's one of my goals for this year, is to see if I can get that to, see if I can get them to consider a change in policy there. I mean, they keep touting how important we are, right? Specialized keeps saying the bike retailer, you're everything to our business. The rider needs you. Okay, great. Well, we'll let us charge for our service then. I mean, it's a pretty easy argument to make, but for them to buy in and accept it, we'll see.
We want healthy retailers, healthy suppliers, healthy industry. And we don't have all the information that everyone has in front of them. So this is hopefully a platform that we can help all understand each other better, so we can all make better decisions that create a thriving industry. I'll take a couple more comments on this topic. Eric Peterson with GoCycle.
I started to think about one of the issues that we face is when we ship to, the consumer can ship to your shop through our model, they can ship to their location. And one of the challenges that we find is, bikes lost in transit. So I'm sitting here thinking, as we talk about building bikes and things like that, it's what role can a shop play in, becoming a collection center? Because, FedEx and UPS are used to being in your shop every single day. So the question becomes, how is there an opportunity to carve out a collection / assembly point for these more traditional direct-to-consumer brands, where you are then able to promote your value, whether it be service or assembly fees, et cetera, where you say, hey, don't worry about your bike being stolen off your porch. And I don't know if people are seeing that, if that is, I mean, obviously one of, Van Moof's big things was putting a TV on the outside of a bike to make it look like it was valuable, so it didn't get damaged in transit. But we all know bikes show up with needing all kinds of things when they show up in the shop. So it's going to be the same when it shows up at home. So just kind of thinking out loud, is that an opportunity? And has anyone thought about it, or is anyone doing that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great opportunity to get those brain juices flowing. I appreciate that, Eric. Patrick Clapp from Citrus Lime.
I wanted to build on something that Shad mentioned as well as what Greg mentioned. I think there's a lot of onus on, or there seems to be a lot of onus on shops. Shops come away from calls like this and they think, well, just more that I have to do. You know, how am I going to tackle all these things? I think it's really important for us to remind and interact with suppliers, even if they come kicking and screaming sometimes, that you know they are trusting us to sell their bikes and they're trusting us to have the expertise. And I'll speak to this a little more in the next topic about expressing that value, but there, you know, I keep thinking about the handoff when I was learning retail and I got into a managerial role. When I wanted to support my staff members who were in sales, and I would start talking to a customer, and I would want to pass them off to another salesperson who maybe wasn't as experienced. I would take that customer to the salesperson, and I would pass them up to this is so and so. They're really great at this. They're very knowledgeable, all this stuff. And that way the customer felt as though they were being passed off, not just, literally passed on because of, the person was busy or whatever, but they felt like they were being given to an expert. And I feel like suppliers have that ability to be a little more hands-on with the customers, with their leads, with their areas. I mean, they have these very large ad spend dollars, and admittedly some people don't, but they do. They have more than the shop does, that's for sure. So I think it's really important to get in touch with your sales managers. I mean, someone just mentioned, Peter mentioned about Giant, that there's there's some issues with what their size is, and the reps are not listening. Talk to more than the reps, talk to the sales manager, talk to other shops in the area, see if you can get like a concerted effort to say, hey, listen, we'd like this to change. We'd like some more effort to be put on our value as a distribution channel, because I mean, I think especially as we're seeing now in the industry, everyone who thought that they could do your jobs are like, nope, you're good, keep going, all you.
Thank you, Patrick. And yeah, Peter Buck is an attendee, and he mentioned that some brands like Jameis indicate on their site that dealers charge additional fees. And Peter agrees there should be more transparency and consistency about this across the industry, and that support is definitely needed from brands to allow retailers to charge for services. Corinne from the New Wheel, thanks. I see your hand up.
Thank you for this panel. Sorry that I wasn't able to make it on time. I think that it's important to keep in mind that the expectations of the riders are changing. So when you do things like charging build fees for a brand or get involved with a D2C brand to do some level of service at the beginning of ownership, the customer also expect you'll be able to service that bike well. And what we've found over and over again is that the brands are not prepared to answer technical questions or provide serious technical solutions, especially for more complex bikes, or provide timely enough resolution for the need for parts. And so I don't think that this is not just about handing off a bike. This is actually about what the customer, the life experience of your product is in the market, and the ways in which a retailer can make that phenomenal, or your riders will just stop using their product. So what do you want the life of your product to be on the road? That's what we can facilitate as retailers.
Excellent reminder, and thank you for bringing that up. I see a lot of heads shaking in an agreement. Anything else from our panel members on this topic? Again, one will continue to, facilitate conversations to hopefully bring around some change. I'd like to save time for our fourth topic today, promoting the value of the specialty bicycle retailer. I love this topic. I'm thankful to the retailer who suggested the panel discuss it. The topic goes, the specialty bicycle retailer takes on an important role in educating, servicing, and fitting of bicycles and accessories to riders. They are an integral part of the industry chain. Let's first define the value and then explore how suppliers and retailers can work in unison to promote the value of the specialty bicycle retailer to riders. We've been doing a SWOT analysis at our cab to shows and our P2 groups on the specialty bicycle retailer. And the strengths are that education, that service. So this is a great question. We have 4 speakers, and I know we have some additional panel members who wanted to talk on this as well. I'll first welcome Paul Willerton of Defeat to the conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. Can you hear me all right?
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, thanks for having me. There's a lot of different interests represented here, a lot of different business models, and I just want to be respectful of everyone's efforts in how they choose to seek happiness and earn a living. Along those lines, I've always had a lot of respect for anyone who chooses to take the path less traveled and become a small business owner, the IBD in particular, because as you all know, that path can be a lot like a super technical single track showcasing our weaknesses for everyone to see. And I just want to provide a little bit of backfill. So 40 or 50 years ago, if you wanted to obtain a really desirable bicycle or cycling product, depending on where you lived, you might have to go to someone's house, who had a contact like a cousin or a friend of an uncle in Italy. And for the right price, he could eventually get you a hand-brazed masterpiece draped in Campagnolo, and you paid your money up front, and maybe some months later, you got your machine. And that was, so think about that as more like, a shop owner moonlighting as a distributor. That opportunity was eventually seized by, more professional full-time distributors who are able to bring more of the good product into the US, warehouse it, and still get a decent margin selling it to enterprising bike shops. And then we saw the rise of American brands using sometimes American manufacturing. And in my opinion, that opened up kind of a gilded age for the cycling industry in the US, which lasted roughly 25 years, and call that 1980 to 2005. And in hindsight, that was the period that saw what seemed to be the most balanced or harmonious arrangement between market participants. And today, ironically, we're seeing distributors more hungry for margin than ever before, like moonlighting as online retailers. And I call those groups DIST to Cs. And as a general rule, Defeat avoids doing business with them entirely because it's just really difficult to identify any kind of value add they're bringing to the marketplace. They basically exploit manufacturer relationships to disrupt IBDs, and that's a no-go. So the IBD is positioned now, kind of, they half a century ago they were positioned much closer to the manufacturer in that kind of distributor role, and now they're positioned right at the very edge of closer to the consumer. I'd say the very edge of the middle, and but they're still within kind of this sphere of disruption. And so to me, there's been a couple overriding themes across this entire 50 years time span. And the first one is customers will seek out unique products and show up at brick and mortar retailers if that's the only place they can see it, acquire it, and maintain it. And number two is just the relentless disruption and compression of any and all businesses in the middle. And that means any business between the manufacturer and the consumer. And so if we're looking for solutions with this group, I think the most obvious one from a manufacturer perspective is, what if we made IBD only products? Would IBDs buy them directly from manufacturers via that manufacturer's B2B portal? And this is not to say that we all escape from the omni-channel world, because that world never sleeps. And as long as we're living through this period of disruption, everyone's is trying to get revenue where they can. But today we have the tools to let IBDs order directly from manufacturers with no one in the middle, no distributor, no sales rep. The hurdle for the IBD is they may need to log into yet another portal to source that product. But it's not just about removing middle players and preserving healthier margins for both the manufacturer and the IBD. There's other benefits. Creating a stronger manufacturer/IBD relationship while introducing IBD only products, that has a lot of downstream benefits that we'll probably only discover as we start to go down that path. So my question to this group is, what I'm interested to learn is if it's actually appealing to carry, for IBDs to carry items that aren't sold anywhere else, if they can be really desirable items with their own unique selling points. Seems like IBD only should carry a lot of weight. It should help bring more floor traffic. It really should help showcase the value of the IBD to the degree that the actual manufacturer is reinforcing the value of certain retail partners. And I can go into more detail about what those items could be and ways to help IBDs get that messaging through to customers, but I'll leave it at that for now.
Well, I really appreciate that thought pattern. It's interesting as you propose, and I like the history that you started with too. So thank you for sharing that. And we have 3 other speakers, and maybe we can get some feedback on that distinct question. Let's go to our next speaker, Greg Britton of Wheel Sport Bikes again. Greg?
Hey there. Thanks, Paul. Nice to see you. I haven't seen Paul in decades.
Good to see you, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you. Mine, it goes back to my last point on the whole value conversation. But one thing that I question, we'll have customers come in and say, and ask for us to match an online price. And but they'll also say, I really want to buy it from you. I want to support my local dealer. So it's an interesting conversation. And just lately, a couple times, I wanted to dig in a little more. So I said, that's awesome. We appreciate you wanting to support us. That's, of course, without that support, we wouldn't be here. I said, I'm curious, do you think we add value to you or to the cycling community, or is there value in us being here? It sounds like there is from what you just told me, but, is there value? And they say, of course there is. I said, could we quantify it? What would it look like? What is it worth? Is it 10%? Is it 20? What's the number? And a couple of them, we ended up at 20. Now I kind of walked them into it. So I said, great, I'll sell to you for 20% over the online price. We just agreed that's an even playing field. But the reality of that conversation was, we want to support you, but we want you to match the price. Means to me, you either we have no value, or we've done a really poor job conveying what it is. And maybe both true, maybe one's true, I don't know. But I do know that conversation is common and interesting to me, and we're struggling with how to answer it.
Excellent, Greg. Thank you for sharing that. I see a lot of people on the call. I see some facial expressions happening, so I'm interested in some feedback from the group as well. 2 more speakers, and then we'll go to some comments and general feedback. Patrick Clapp from Citrus Lime.
So I just shared, as I am one to do, a little visual aid in the chat. So take a look at that. I'm Patrick. I work at Citrus Lime. We are a solutions company in the bike industry. We do point of sale systems. But I think one of the things that I am noting about this is that I speak to a lot of retailers. I was born in bike shops. So when I think about what value bike shops add, I can't help but realize that if some of you have been in the bike industry for most of my life, then I got my value from you, from your work in the industry through some form or fashion. So to think about what that offers to other people, I'm thinking, well, so much you can't even begin to quantify it. But if we could quantify it, I agree that that's something that we want to think about. So when I think about the value of the specialty retailer and what they provide to the consumers as well as the wider industry, I think of that image that I just posted there. And if you haven't opened it yet, it is a visual representation of exponential growth. The bike shop is there at the very dead center. And you can see that as they start to have customers and start to interact with people and create relationships, they start to expand that. And even the second direct connection that they have is double than the first connection. And the third is triple the one before. It's an exponential growth. So sorry, Cade, it's just an exponential growth. Honestly, not for nothing, it kind of looks like nerve cells where everything's connected. But I think getting back to the basics of what makes a bike shop special is really important. I think when you're trying to contemplate the amount of time we spend with customers, like try to think of what other purchase that a customer makes that they spend that much time with. When I tried to do that, the first thing I thought, and really the most pertinent thing, was like remodeling a kitchen. People will spend weeks researching remodeling a kitchen. And why do they do that? It's because they're going to live with it. And it's the same with bikes and bike shops. Customers will spend hours, if not days or weeks, researching their next bike purchase, and shops are willing to spend that time with them because they're going to live with it. It's going to be a part of their life. That is something that I think we've lost, and I think I can prove that. Look at the pandemic. We did not get to sell the same way than we typically would have. And where are those customers? They're still riding, they're not coming back to bike shops. I think it's partly because we didn't get to sell to them the same way that we would typically want to. We didn't get to have that consultative sales approach. And that is what I think makes bike shops really special, that shop owners are willing to take that time and they impart upon that passion with their employees that it's worth taking that time. It's worth having that person be that much more in love with bikes so that they can affect the next person and the next person and the next person. And while it sounds, again, like we're putting the onus on shops, I think it's really high time that the industry at large, both suppliers and providers, start to remember that we need bike shops to do that. There are only a finite number of people who are willing to do that, who are willing to take that amount of time and spend 100 hours a week devoting their time to their bike shop job. I wanted to bring a couple notes. I talked to a lot of retailers, and not for nothing, a lot of the conversations are doom and gloom. Rightfully so, it's a scary time, but some of them are really, really promising. I spoke with a shop that is out in like the middle of New York. I actually don't know what it's called. I think it's in the Rust Belt. It's like south of the Finger Lakes. And he's got nothing around. Like the population of the county is only like 80,000 people. But he did $1.25 million last year. He did an amazing, really, really amazing year. And so I took off my citrus lime hat immediately. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Community first, second, and third, sales if there's time." And I'm like, can you buy all the shops and help them run? Because I feel like we need that perspective on this. He has that exact same feeling. He said, "I wanted to reach out to the people that bought during the pandemic, and that's what we've been doing. We've been doing community work. We've been doing group rides." He has 3 rides a week, and each ride has 50 riders on it. That's amazing. And that, to me, harks back to when I was a kid working in bike shops, and that's the kind of input that I saw from the community. So I think this is just a revolving door that we need to create, and someone has put a wedge in the door. We just need to remove that wedge. And that's going to take the hand off from the bike shop doing that, as well as the hand on the supplier and the manufacturers and whatnot. I think they need to take an equal approach at this. So when it comes to adding value and expressing your value to the consumer as well as to suppliers, I think they are the exact same answer. They're the exact same answer we've been doing for the amount of time we've been in industry, doing what we do well as specialty bicycle retailers, being passionate about bikes and spreading that passion to our customers.
Excellent. Thank you, Patrick. You always speak with such passion and intention, and I really appreciate that. One more on this topic is Toby Dupois from People for Bikes. Toby?
Thanks, Heather. Hi, everybody. It is fantastic to see so many familiar faces. This has been a great topic, or this whole like list of topics is fantastic, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. I'm going to try really hard to put all this in 5 minutes, and I promise I will fail. So I currently work at People for Bikes, where we help riders ride more often in many ways. And before that, I was at a bike shop in a small town in Illinois, doing that same thing for a long time. And when I came into the industry, I'm going to kind of tag on to some of the history lessons we've already heard. It was interesting because we had monopolies. We enjoyed these delicious monopolies. Like we had a monopoly on information. If, somebody wanted to know about bikes, they had to come to the bike shop. Access. We were the place where you had to come to get the stuff. And community. We were the place where you would connect with other riders. We didn't have social media. We didn't have, online retailers. We didn't have all these other things that now are commonplace. And now those are all gone. And that might sound like really bad news, but what I think it's forcing us to do is really question, what is our value? Where does our value lie? And not count on those old comforts and those old monopolies. And so what we did at our shop to try to kind of counter the loss of those different kind of what we thought were foundations, where we started to focus on what we could control and what we did understand, and what separated us from the rest of the other shops and the other businesses in our community. And we just started to focus on the things that no one could compete on. And so when I stop and think about, what makes every bike shop unique, I can only think of one thing, and that's you. You are the only thing in your shop that is not present in any other shop in the world. So how good of a job are you doing making that story known? We've hinted at it a few times in this seminar today about communication. Are we telling the story? Are we establishing our value to our audiences? And I think bike shops really struggle with that because it's very difficult. But in this time, I think this is a good opportunity to stop, to evaluate what is your unique value proposition to your local community. And then ask yourself the hard questions about, are you communicating that well? How could you do that better? What stories are there that just haven't been told? And so kind of my first challenge to everybody is to consider how you might introduce yourself again for the first time to your community. However you might do that, either with, telling your story on your website, through social media, having different events in the store where you could invite people in to hear your history, to hear your background. And then also consider like who's on the bench, who else is in the store that has great stories to tell, what untapped talents are there sitting, waiting to share with your customers. And one way to consider doing this is to, find a time before or after opening one day and get your staff together and challenge your team to make a list of 5 or 10 things that makes your shop special, unique, one of a kind. And then as soon as you establish that list, go down the list and ask yourself, is this true of any other shop in town? Is this true of, other businesses? And if what really distill that list down to what makes you unique, and then task yourself with trying to how to get that story out there. Because I just think this is a really good opportunity now to establish the future of your relationship with your customer base and base it on things that, are central, are your value. And not to diminish the value of your products, not to diminish the value of your service, but to really make sure that core human value is known to your audience, because you don't have to compete on that. You own that. You are that. And so, yeah, it's homework. I am giving you homework. I am asking you to do some more work. I'm sorry. You're welcome. I think it's going to be a good exercise. Start thinking about what are the ways that you want your customers to want to do business with you instead of having to do business with you. I think it changes the dynamic of that relationship. It changes how that conversation is going to go. I used to say that, like, I don't want my shop to be a place you have to go. I want it to be a place you want to go. I want it to be a place where you want to be and belong. It's not a chore. This is discretionary income, so you want them to want to be there. I I also think there's a lot of opportunity in this kind of generational change that's happening both in ownership and in kind of in our customer base. We don't have to rely on what was true 10 years ago. We don't have to rely, and this is, I mean, I'm sorry, and you're welcome again for the people that have doing business for a long time, because this is hard. This is growth, and you can't rely on those old things again. So think about the fact that your customers are changing, and they have changed, and they've gone through the same turbulent era as you. And so you can consider new ways to charge for services. You can, because it's become commonplace. And service fees, I think Benton said that really well, where it was like they didn't do anything and they still got my $30. You guys are doing a lot more than that, and so find where you can make up those margins. And most clearly, the thing I want to make most clear is that you have to communicate that, set expectations, remove surprises, those friction points where you feel like, okay, wait, someone's coming in and we're having a conflict. Where in this timeline could I have introduced this idea earlier? Was it on the door? Was it a sign? Was it on our website? Was it in my email footer? How can you introduce and set these expectations? And then just, again, I'm going to go back to the human element, what sets you apart. Think about your place, where your shop is or shops are, what makes that place unique. At People for Bikes, we have an incredible project that's ramping up called the Great Bike Infrastructure Project, where we're drawing attention to over 1,000 different infrastructure projects across the country. Go to our website, find that project that's nearby, and start celebrating it. Start drawing attention to the new infrastructure in your area, new single track in your area, maybe even just the first bike lane. You should host a group ride on the first bike lane in town. Those are all opportunities to kind of build a relationship with the people in the place that you're at. I think that's 5 minutes. I'm going to inhale for the first time. Thank you.
Toby, I love the energy that you bring. Yeah, excellent topic and 4 exciting speakers. We had the suggestion of an IBD only product. The conversation suggesting that maybe consumers agree the value that the specialty bicycle retailer brings, but it's hard to see them, get them to, see the benefit of that value. And then just exploring the communication of your personal story and that building community. I would welcome more feedback from the panel members. I see Rob from Bulls Bikes has a comment.
So I think that great input from all the speakers, and Toby, your summary was I think spot on. I'm going to go back to the first subject because I think this is sort of a full circle moment for me, and that really talks to lifetime value of the customer. We are not going to be able to advertise or market our IBD brands to everyone. There's just not enough money in it for us to compete against some of the direct consumer brands that are devoting their entire margin stack, so to speak, to the consumer directly. And I think if we're really trying to get the consumer to understand the value add that we bring, we being specialty, to the business, we need to really embrace all consumers coming in and use it as an opportunity to educate the consumer about why perhaps their next purchase should be from us, and how we can help become their cycling hub, so to speak. Again, putting guardrails around those areas where the cost of servicing that consumer can get out of hand. So to me, it's really about selling the specialty experience. And as Heather talked about, selling the personal touch and all of the individual aspects that a specialty retailer can bring to the table, but at the same time, not alienating consumers ever, and embracing everyone who calls or walks in the door in some way, so that that consumer walks away either knowing that you're my bike shop, even though I didn't buy my bike from you, or you can't help me with this situation because of what I bought, and clearly understanding why that is. but that you're still my bike shop, and we'd love to see you in here at some point going forward. So again, lifetime value of the customer and not alienating anyone. And then again, supporting those brands that really support specialty. And I think that's a really challenging thought in this environment, with brands dominating the conversation, direct consumer brands marketing their way directly to consumers, and us trying to sort of navigate those two competing interests. Thanks.
Thank you, Rob. Corinne from the New Wheel, thanks.
Thanks for all of these thoughts. It's such an interesting topic. Some people might be familiar with our shop, some might not, but we are an e-bike only shop that's been open for 13 years now. And we have grown from just me and my partner selling a small handful of bikes a year to quite a large operation without any online sales, all locally based. And so I'm very, very well familiar with this, with all of these projects, with the project of building the brand of your shop, becoming a member of your community, really supporting a growing movement in the community. And it can be done, and it is really an exciting thing to do. I wanted to speak to a couple of particular points that each of the speakers made. Paul, in terms of like IBD specific products, I want to suggest that there's a really interesting opportunity, especially in the launch of new products, because the online purchasing experience of things is not tactile, and what we sell is very tactile. And so when you have a new product, it might not be forever, but you might offer, and we've had great success with launching products. And what it really requires is good education for our sales staff so we can really do the great work for you. And then bike shops are great at this. Like what we have that you don't have on the supplier side is hands on the floor, like just the ability to do the work day in, day out. And so I'd suggest considering that. We don't need stale inventory of something that's only available in stores. We need new ideas that we can really present and bring to a customer in a really exciting and new way. And we can do that really well at the retail floor. You know, I was thinking about this question of like what the value of a retailer is, that I think you were speaking to, Greg. And, you know, yes, there's the value to each customer, and there are thousands of those people. We deal with thousands every year. But the more important question is, what is the value of the retailer to the supplier? What is our value? I have 10 important suppliers. We should be having that conversation every year, and we should be talking about that in this forum. And I would like to see more suppliers here, because these are really important conversations, because you pay us for our services. And as you pay us for our services, we're able to represent your product better and better in real life, right? And that's product that gets used, that's on the road, that gets word of mouth. So, you know, to Patrick's point, like we really can amplify what you're doing in a extremely tangible way. And then, you know, to your points, Toby, the project of creating a store brand and really representing something that resonates with your community is really important. And I will just point out that the problem with all the friction between suppliers and retailers in the last 3 years is that it has sucked, that there are only a fixed number of hours in a day. And time is an important resource. And our passion and our excitement and everything that we offer can either be focused outward on customers, on new riders, on exciting opportunities, or we can spend it fighting with you guys. And I'd really like to put an end to that. That sucks. That's not what we're here to do. And I can tell you that it's not a sustainable thing. We're not paid enough to fight with suppliers. there's no money in it really. So what I'm excited about this forum for, and call your supplier friends and tell them to show up, because there should be a lot more suppliers here. We need to be talking directly to one another so that we as retailers can understand what's valuable to you, and you can really reconnect with why we're so valuable to the whole picture of cycling in America. And that's all I got.
Thanks you. Thank you, Karin. Patrick Klepp.
So I don't know who here attended Cab to West, but one of the discussions that Heather led brought up this discussion of having a more reciprocal relationship with, especially at the contract phase, with your supplier. And I was a little bold with some of my statements that led to a follow-up discussion afterwards. And one of the shops approached me and said, well, if we did that with our retailer or with our supplier, they'd have no problem dropping us. And I said, man, if only there was a group that brought together all of these bike shops and try to facilitate some sort of like unanimous goal and like had some sort of buy-in from all these retailers. I'm like, you know what? Who would be great at running that? Let's go talk to Heather. She'd be really great at running that. And then he obviously saw what I was doing, but I'm like, man, you're not alone. And I think another thing that just kind of came to my head is one of the biggest values that we have as retailers is each other. We have a incredibly strong network that, again, I'm a 90s kid, and I was raised in this idea of a bike shop that if there were all these bike shops together in a room, it would be like a mosh pit, but it's not. And to Karen's point, the whole like competition for competition's sake and the whole fighting, the infighting is just ridiculous. We have so much more strength and power together, not just as retailers, but also as a massive industry community. So that to me, I think that's one of our absolute biggest values that we can show to consumers. And for better or for worse, I think consumers are a lot more aware of our market and our market strife than maybe we'd like them to be. But I think due to the nature of the economy, I think they're seeing and hearing a lot of articles that are not always the greatest spotlight on us.
Thank you, Patrick. It was great to see you out at the Cab to Show. Let's put one more comment here. Paul Willerton, we'll bring it back to you, full circle.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, couple things. So first to Greg's point, when Greg opened his shop with his dad and brother 44 years ago, I was one of the first ones through the door, and I was so happy to have a local bike shop, in my neighborhood as a 10-year-old kid who wanted to embark in this industry and sport. And if there's customers coming through the door today, I can imagine how frustrating it is if someone's like demanding price matching and so forth for an online product. And so just to be more clear about what I'm suggesting or asking about is to not have that, not compare apples to apples there, that the product that the bike shop would be stocking would not be available online. Maybe the brand is available online in some other areas, but that particular product would not have an online price match. And I'm just wondering if there's value in that. But also to Karen's point, that's, what you brought up is so important to us as a manufacturer right now, because we no longer have any independent reps, zero. And so we're sitting at a factory making product, reaching out and saying, we want to have a relationship with you because we value you so much that a go-to-market strategy is kind of asinine to ask that question. What is your go-to-market strategy? I'm saying to ask a manufacturer. So if a manufacturer is so cocky that they think that they somehow control this market without the IBD, to me, that's absurd, because the IBD is sort of the tip of the spear when it comes to community. So the question manufacturers should be asking is, what's your go-to-community strategy? And to me, that go-to-community strategy involves the shop. And so we want to have this relationship. It's more important than ever. And anyway, I just wanted to address those two things.
Paul, you might like, my experience is that the internet is important. That there is this symbiosis that can happen between what happens online and what happens in the store. So the idea of having products that are, unless they're really like super niche and cool, the idea of having products that are only retail strikes me as maybe not working like super well, because part of the way people shop is by like reading reviews online, getting a feeling for what other people like it's a very complex process. But the way of like managing the supply chain and managing the discounting can include retailers instead of not including them, right? So like in power sports, it's all discounts are given through coupon codes and different ways of crediting retailers back. So maybe there are other ways of thinking about that. But a lot of the products that I've had that don't have an online presence don't do very well or require a ton of legwork to market them from the store side, in my experience.
Excellent. Well, these 4 topics have definitely been fantastic to hear from our panel members, from our attendees, differing viewpoints. Collectively, we can take these viewpoints and move us forward. As I mentioned at the beginning, NBDA board member Kent Cranford has been taking notes and will now offer us a summary of the topics today. Kent?
Hey, everybody, it's been great. It's been a great conversation. It's a conversation I feel like all of us have probably had 100,000 times over the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years. But I have some highlight bullet points from each one of them. These aren't solutions. I'm on the committee that's been working on this stuff for a while, and these stories are very similar. But in our first topic with discounts and online pricing, some of the bullet points were margin share with retailer on direct-to-consumer sales. Full share is optimal. Advertised discounting should be in coordination with the retail chain, with an opportunity for the margin to get recaptured or in sync with sales together. Big brands seem to be the least interested in these options. Retailers need to understand their own brand and choose brands to sell that are in line with them. On our topic of direct-to-consumer sales and servicing, new companies providing a portal for the direct-to-consumer e-bike owners to have access to willing IBDs for service. Sorry, that was worded weird, but basically a way to connect these new non-bike shop customers with offer new services like insurance to the new direct-to-consumer owners through bike shops. Embrace the lifetime value of the customer. We've heard that a few times. Find ways to help the direct-to-consumer customer. Be aware of insurance issues. Scott is the expert, always. Have policies in place for the shop about what bikes can be worked on, and is there a readily available contact info? And our third topic with direct-to-consumer sales, assembly, setup, and shipping, understanding, helping those consumers understand that there are add-on fees, and those fees are standard in many other parts of our lives. Assembly and shipping charges should be separate. Selling for the IBD to sell your services is part of being an independent retailer. So in that thought that instead of just saying no to somebody who comes in and says, will you work on this? If they came in and said, will you sell me a bike? You'd say yes. When they say, will you work on this? You say no. But really, it's a sales technique of getting past that. Sorry, that was my own opinion. Brands selling direct to consumer should have best practices of making the consumer aware that assembly is a service that will be charged for. And in our last topic, promoting value of the specialty bicycle retailer, it was sort of, my bullet points didn't seem to align as much with the topic, but Paul suggested the IBD only product option. Consumers agree that the specialty retailer provide value, but it's hard to get them to pay extra for that. Retailers should explore communicating their story and value to their communities. And then the question of how can retailers be more valuable to suppliers? And you could flip that. How could the suppliers be more valuable to retailers? Those are the bullet points I grabbed. They're obviously not the solutions. They don't solve all this, but they obviously continue with the conversation.
Thank you, Kent. So that feedback and summary that Kent has prepared will be submitted to all panel members for your additional comment. And then the synopsis of that will be shared with the industry. So those that are unable to join us today can see the work that was done in the conversation that was had. Again, this is a platform for creating an opportunity for conversation. Every business is diverse, and we want the best for retailer health, supplier health, and industry health. The recording of today's event will be found on the NBDA YouTube channel within 24 hours. We are always welcoming more suppliers and more retailers to take a leading role as a panel member. You can email me directly at heather@nbda.com. My homework, my challenge for the panel members and for those attending is to think of topics that you'd like us to address at the next panel meeting, which is happening in April, and email those to me as well. We have the best interest of all of our members and the industry at large, and we want this platform to provide opportunity. The next event is April 16th, 2024. That registration is live now on the NBDA website. Thank you again to our panel members who took the time to attend today to share your expertise. It can be, a little challenging to unmute and speak before the crowd, but I really do appreciate it. Peter, were there any closing words that you had that you wanted to share with the group?
Just how much I appreciate you all being here. And retailers, great, and suppliers, I'm really glad that you feel it's important enough to show up, and that's just awesome, and that you're willing to speak up, and that's awesome. And yeah, as always, we need to, I think as retailers, a lot of us take for granted what it is that we do. And it's just, we've always done it, and so we feel it doesn't really have value. We need to understand our own value better and tell it more. And on the other hand, we also need to challenge, is what we're doing really providing value? Sometimes we're doing it because we've always done it, and it's not something people care about that much. And we need to sort out the difference and make sure that we take the credit for that which we're doing. And the suppliers that are here today show that there are those willing to recognize the value of what we're doing, and they're the ones we should be working for.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter. And thank you. We had some panel members, KHS, Frog Bikes, who didn't speak today, but nice to have you on the call, Human Powered Solutions as well. Appreciate everyone taking their time today. That does conclude today's panel discussion. And with this, we go. Have a great afternoon.